Hi, I'm Kathy from West End Vintage and Interiors. You also know me as the decorator from Vintage 61 Storehouse in Origsburg, Pennsylvania, and this is a Firehouse Windsor chair. It's a beautiful piece of furniture, and I'll tell you all about it in a minute. So I have Miss Mustard Seed's Tricycle paint all ready and stirred up with some milk grip in it. I've added that so it bonds to the chair.
Well, that's yours truly there. I was a fireman for 32 years altogether. That's funny, I never thought about it. I was in Engine 32 in New York. And this is a drill down by the docks on a Sunday morning. And the guys were kidding about, we got 2 engines and an area ladder all tied up. If we had a fire a block away, we couldn't break down quick enough to get to it.
So tell us some memorable things about the job when you were in New York.
It was exciting. Every part of it was exciting.
Storytell a little bit.
Well, like when you'd go out, being on the tailboard in the back, you didn't really know where you were going. Only the guys up in the cab knew where they were going. And this one night, boom, we're going. And all of a sudden, we're driving onto the ferry boat, going to Staten Island. I didn't know it until we got there. That was exciting. Take us a half an hour ride going across that water. We'd go to Staten Island for fires. We'd go to Brooklyn for fires.
I spent a lot of time with chairs like this. They surrounded my dad's table on the apparatus floor of his firehouse. So when Miss Mustard Seed asked me, "Is there anything you can do to honor firefighters this month?" I said, "I think I might have an idea."
One day a man was across the street drawing. And he made this picture of our firehouse. He did Engine 32, which was us, and Ladder 10, which was up in Fulton Street. Only those 2 did he do. They were, I guess you call them watercolors. Now that firehouse there was built in 1903. It was first, naturally, had horses, a steam pumper, and a hose wagon, which means you would have 2 on the hose wagon and 3 on the pumper. So you had 7 horses in that building. The buildings were very narrow and very high. Our firehouse was 4 stories high.
Talk to us about some memorable fires.
Well, I went to the biggest fire in New York City the year that I was there. The year that fire was the biggest fire of the year, 1963. We went on a first alarm, and we went on a 4th alarm. It was a 5th alarm before we got there, and it was 8 alarms before the day ran out. And while we were there, we came, brought our change of clothes. We always had a bag that made up, and put it on the front seat of the rig, and the pumper was pointing right to the corner of the building. How we got that close to the building on a 4th alarm, we don't know. But we left the engine, walked in front of it, went across the street, went up the staircase to the roof of the Pittsburgh Plate Glass Company, and our crew that worked the night was up there with the hose lines, and we took over. And once I got up there, we hadn't relieved them yet. I heard a tremendous crack. 4th, 5th, and 6th floors just peeled away. Engine 208 and 207 were flattened. They were lost. But that building lasted. It didn't have a for almost 23 hours. The columns in the building were what they call mill construction, 12 by 12s in groups of 4. That makes 24 by 24 column. That's a tree. If that had been cast iron lolly columns or steel columns, that building would have been down long before that. Like I have some pictures of the building after it collapsed in Brooklyn. As I said, this was the biggest single building fire for the whole year.
Tell me the story about how you got called out and then you had to put the lasagna in the soda machine. Talk about
the guys the night before had lasagna and they're big trays. And we had a soda machine there, the kind that when you put the money in, you slide the bottle over and up and out.
So it was like a chest.
Yeah, it was a big chest, right. Well,
they put the lasagna in there to keep cold.
Keep cold, right. The Fulton Fish Market fire. Because we were there all afternoon and we were hungry. And all we were thinking about is getting the lasagna. When we opened up that hatch, there were cockroaches all over the lasagna. We had a synagogue next door to us. By the way, the members of the synagogue could not on the Sabbath open up the synagogue because that was work. So we opened the synagogue on the Sabbath. And then a certain time they would bring Manischewitz wine to us as a thank you. New York had everything.
What would be a typical scenario? I remember, for instance, when you first got the Jaws of Life, starting to use that. I remember one time you came home, you said, yeah, I had blood all over my turnout coat, and I didn't understand that. And I said, why would you have blood all over your turnout coat? And you're like, oh, we had a guy in the accident, and you're talking about how you had to hold up one side of the gurney the whole time, so tell that kind of story, so that just shows the layer of the job. Duh.
It's a dirty job. When you get into working at these things, it could be anything, and you don't have time to prepare yourself. You get thrown into it. It could be anything.
Go into storytelling.
Well,
you could even just do a list of the type of things that you were
the
called
worst
out
part
for.
about it is being soaking wet in the winter. That hurt. Your hands hurt. They were frozen like.
Tell me about the time a woman came around with cups of coffee.
Oh. Well, that was Maplewood.
Yeah, that's part of it too.
But I never drink black coffee. That night I was so cold and I had black coffee and it was the best tasting coffee ever. That just shows you how your mind changes. We had fires in the subway. The middle track was express and the express didn't stop. And they're going fast and that creates a suction. Now these idiots throwing debris on the station, that would get sucked into the tunnel. And then with the third rail, which is electrified, you'd start a fire. And the same tanks that we'd use for brush fires on Staten Island, we use for subway fires in Manhattan.
So this is your graduating class?
Yes. That's me right there.
Top center?
Yep. Well, that would be center. Him, I'm right here. This is the fire commissioner, deputy fire commissioners, officers in charge of training.